laws interplay when it comes to mental health. So looking into the statistics, um, uh, you know, India did not have much of the legislations when it comes to mental health. And that is why I have given the theme of today's talk as progressive legislation meets significant implementational challenges. In other words, we have the 2017 Mental Health Care Act, right? And what exactly is the ground reality? So, starting a little bit with the statistical data, mental health in India represents one of the most pressing yet historically neglected public health challenges. And when we say 1 in 7 Indians are affected by mental disorders, we are talking about approximately 200 million people living with conditions ranging from common mental health disorders like depression and anxiety to severe mental illnesses like schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. I hope you all understand and you all know what exactly is depression, what exactly is anxiety, what is schizophrenia, what is bipolar disorder. Now, I'm very open and vocal about it. If my first book is visible to you all, which is Rising from the Void, A Journey of Grit and Survival, is it visible to you all, that book? Is that particular book visible?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. So,
Yes.
Rising from
Rising from
A Journey of Grit and Survival, this book encapsulates it's my first novel and memoir wherein I have narrated the entire incident that happened with me in terms of clinical anxiety. Like, how were the symptoms? What were the feelings at that point of time? How did society accept me at that particular point of time when my first attack happened? So this book basically encapsulates everything. Now I don't know if everybody knows this or not, but I myself had cleared the state judicial services and I worked as a judicial officer for almost a couple of years before I entered into the education field. But during the time I was suffering from mental health disorder, and it was uh, it was the feeling, it was the physical symptoms that 10 years down the line I was able to write and come up with this book. So this book narrates the journey that of 10 years of journey of how I have dealt with mental health, the kind of medications that I have undergone, and what were the side effects of the medications. Each and everything has been narrated in this book. And um, this book is not available right now because the first print is already over. I have asked the publication house to come up with the second print, the second version of the book, which it is visible. I mean, you can find it in Flipkart, but it is not. You cannot order this book because of the demand for the book. My book got sold in 3 months' time, because and that is how you understand that the kind of mental health issues that people are facing, right? And people do not, um, they're shy to say about this. I don't know how many of you over here have felt sad at times, have felt depressed at times. Now there is a very big difference between sadness and feeling depressed. Let me tell you, a lot of people on an everyday basis can feel sad. That's common. You might feel sad because your work did not take place. you did not meet your expectations, or your better half, you had a fight with your better half. So on and so forth. You can be sad for many reasons. You had while driving from home to your office, you had a puncture and you got delayed, because of which your boss, you could not show up to your boss on time. You could be sad for several reasons, right? But when it comes to feeling depressed, there is a lot of difference. And when I see this, there's a very subtle difference between feeling sad and feeling depressed. When you're depressed, the first symptom that comes is you feel like to cry. There's a palpitation in your body, and you will feel that you might probably have a heart attack. You feel that there is a breathlessness. So these are some of the common symptoms, and this leads towards what is called as panic attack. We all don't know what it is. We all don't know what panic attack is. Your hands will be full of sweat. Your hands might be shivering. You might be nervous. So a lot of physical symptoms, and different people will have different symptoms. It is not that the symptoms that I am facing, you will also face. And that is where a lot of people in India, and I say 68% of the youth in India are committing suicide because of this. There are several reasons. Several reasons. One is, the first important reason is your environment with whom you are on an everyday basis. Whether it is your home environment, whether it is your school environment, whether it is your college environment, these matters a lot, you know. But in spite of everything, today I am talking to you and discussing about what I have gone through for the last 10 years. A lot of people might not have the courage of saying this. It requires a lot of courage. And let me also tell you, if you're trying to make others understand about anxiety, about depression, people will not understand you, because they have not gone through those feelings, the physical symptoms and the mental symptoms. So I don't blame others when they don't understand me. I have accepted that people will not understand because they've not gone through this feeling. And let me also tell you, you have friends, you're sitting amongst each other. You have to understand that everybody has a story behind them. Everybody has a story behind them. In my class, when I walk into the first class, the 9 o'clock or the 9:30 class, the first question that I ask everybody is that, since yesterday to today, how are you feeling? That is the first question that I ask. Of course, some say, sir, class nahi karna hai abhi, neend aa raha hai abhi. These are some of the common things that come up. But deep down, my point is, are you all well since yesterday till today? Because everybody has a story behind them. You don't know what happens. So in my second book, what I did after I finished my first memoir, the second book was Understanding Mental Health Through the Prism of Law. I conducted a survey, an empirical study in the state of Odisha of all the law students in the higher education institutes across several districts of Odisha, to understand whether they are going through some kind of mental disturbances or not. The book is also there with you. I mean, if it's visible to you, I'll request if it can be shared to everybody. Now, that empirical study was an anonymous study. I know that people will not come up if I request to answer there with the name. The second
The
one,
second,
there are two
there are
slides.
two sides.
Yes.
Yes.
So this
So
was
this one,
in
in
collaboration with I also took the help of some of the leading psychiatrists in Odisha. You can see one of the psychiatrists has also written a foreword for this book, and uh, the study was basically uh, to understand what are the psychological disturbances that the age group of 16 to 24 go through. That's the age group that you all fall. Surprisingly, majority of the mental health disorders starts from the age of 15, 16. I've excluded 15, but it starts from 15, 16, and it erupts at the age of 22, 23, 24. Sometimes, and it continues till the age of 45. Some people might have it very early, some people might have it very in a later stage, right? Not everybody needs to have it. So when I was discussing the same thing with my psychiatrist while writing this book, he explained to me that when you're born fighting in the mother's womb, right? So your anxiety is not new to the world. Your anxiety starts from the mother's womb itself. And when when you're born with one very typical nerve that is called as the vagus nerve that starts from your where the umbilical cord is there, the navel portion, and it goes up to the brain. And you have all the neurotransmitters that are there in your lower abdominal area, and that is why they say that your gut is your second brain and your gut is your intuition. जो चीज दिमाग से सॉल्व नहीं होता है वो आपके इंट्यूशन से सॉल्व हो जाता है. कभी कभी हम यही बोलते हैं ना कि मेरा सिक्स सेंस बोल रहा है मुझे आज ये चीज करना नहीं चाहिए. And that is why they say that you must have a healthy gut. That's your second brain. You should eat healthy. You should drink healthy. So this vagus nerve is actually very anxious nerve. So everybody goes through anxiety in their life at one point of time. But when it becomes clinical, it is then that you require some kind of external help, some kind of medicinal help. And let me tell you, people have this misconception that कुछ तो ट्रिगर किया होगा आपको, कुछ तो ट्रिगरिंग पॉइंट होगा. It is correct, कुछ तो ट्रिगरिंग पॉइंट होगा. But not always that anxiety and depression starts with a triggering point. It can be genetic also. It can be hormonal also. Well, you can say that how am I so sure? I'm not a doctor. I've lived this experience. I've conducted research with psychiatrists and I've had long hours of discussions with psychiatrists. And when it comes to this study, a lot of students anonymously said, we had a questionnaire, and in this questionnaire, we had asked a lot of questions like, what exactly is the reason why you feel this particular way? What could it be done that you don't feel in this particular way? Do you feel in this particular way or not? So we had given some sample examples, right? Now, we had gotten 110 responses from across Odisha. And surprisingly, the most important thing that came out of this is stigmatization. The society has stigmatized so many things that we are ashamed to come out of this. And one such thing is कि अगर आप काउंसलर के पास जा रहे हो तो जरूर आप पागल हो. Now, this is something that we need to change. We need to make people aware of it. That if we go to meet a counselor, that does not mean that I am mad. I can go and I talk to my friend, I talk to my father, I talk to my mother. Does that mean that I'm mad? I take advice from them. I can always take advice from my counselors. So, stigmatization, perception, the way people see the things, that is very important. That came out in the forefront of this study. And one terminology we used in this book was affective dysregulation. What is affective dysregulation? And we see that this is the most common form of physical symptom that happens in people, that we become restless. हम बहुत चिड़चिड़ हो जाते हैं कुछ कुछ बातों में, हमें अच्छा नहीं लगता है. We tend to go and fight, we tend to go and argue. This is what is affective dysregulation, right? So apart from this, we saw that gender played a very important role. Around, if I take it out from 100%, 70% female responded that they have mental disorder issues, and 30% male said that they have mental disorder issues. The gender plays an important role, environment plays an important role, socio-economic status also plays an important role. People who are affluent can basically take the help of psychiatrists or psychologists. People who are not affluent or not economically well to do, they are not able to take the services. And that is why every institution, the UGC has now mandated that every educational institution must have a counselor. UGC has also mandated that you must have telemanas facility. What is telemanas facility? Now, you'll be shocking to know that in the year 2024, more than 1 lakh students had taken the help of telemanas services before committing. I mean, out of the 1 lakh students, 30% of them had committed suicide, but they had taken the help of the telemanas to share about this thing, that they wanted help. And let me also tell you, शायद आज आपको जो मैं बोल रहा हूं वो समझ में ना आए, क्योंकि आप लोग को लग रहा होगा कि जो मैं बोल रहा हूं इज नथिंग बट इट्स कॉमन, वेरी कॉमन, ये तो मुझे तो नहीं हुआ है तो मुझे सुनने का कोई जरूरत है नहीं. But it is not always about you, right? It is about others who might be facing this problem. And unlike physical diseases, I'm particular in using the word diseases because mental health is a disorder, physical is a disease. Unlike physical diseases like jaundice, like diabetes, like sugar, like cholesterol, या फिर कोई घाव हो जाता, unlike physical wounds, physical diseases, which is visible and you will understand that it might be painful. mental health disorders are invisible killers. It is so painful, so painful. Unless you have it, you will not understand कि कितना दर्द होता है. और अगर इस दर्द को आप सह के, you tolerate this pain and you overcome this pain, itself is an achievement. You know, I keep telling this, that what a normal person would do is a gigantic work for a person who suffers from mental health disorder. वो कहावत में है कि दर्द का एक अपना ही अदा है, दर्द का एक अपना ही अदा है कि वो सहने वालों पे ही फिदा है. Only those who can tolerate pain will be able to withstand this pain, and pain gives you that particular kind of feeling. So I will not take much of the time though, but in India, earlier, if you all have read the Indian Penal Code and now the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, section 309 was criminalized, right? People who attempted suicide, they were taken into jail. That is because we were following the colonial period legislations. We started with the Lunacy Act of 1912, and today we have the Mental Health Act of 2017, right? So what earlier was treated as a crime, people understood. आप ही सोचिए ना कि कोई इंसान सुसाइड करने के लिए अगर करने के लिए जाता है, if he is attempting to suicide, two things is happening with that person. He is in so much of pain that he is unable to explain his pain neither to the doctor nor to his family. Second is, he is actually very strong enough that he has taken a decision to end his life, that he is undergoing so much of mental stress, physical pain, that he has decided to end his life. So the legislature thought, after a lot of discussion, that एक इंसान को हम जेल के अंदर बंद कर देने से तो वो तो और भी ज्यादा बुरा हालत हो जाएगा उसको. So why do we criminalize such, unless and until it is an abatement, which is different, which is section 108. If it is under 309, the Mental Health Act of 2017, section 115 now decriminalizes attempted suicide on the grounds that the person is under a lot of stress, he needs rehabilitation rather than throwing him into judicial custody or police custody. That was the logic behind section 115. One of the finest form of legislation India ever had is the Mental Health Act of 2017. But now in the act itself, there are directives, there are state boards where you will have a composition of people who will look after this thing, the mental asylums conditions, psychiatric unit conditions. Their functions have been narrated in this particular act of 2017. A lot of things, procedural things have been there. There's not much substantive provisions given in this act. A lot of procedural this thing. But you know, this act stemmed from which, can anybody tell me, ये जो मेंटल हेल्थ एक्ट 2017 है, कौन सा जुडिशियल प्रेसिडेंट से ये आया है? What was the source or the judgment that led to this legislation? Can anybody tell me? Does anybody know about it? It was Common Cause versus Union of India. Justice Deepak Mishra had authored this particular judgment, and this judgment was all about euthanasia, mercifully. It stemmed from that judgment, and it came out in the form of 2017 enactment of legislation, right? But the problem that we face in India today is not just about the mental health disorder, but it is the implementational challenges. The hospitals, psychiatric units, state psychiatric units, district psychiatric units, they face infrastructural issues. I will tell you the statistical data. Just give me one moment. I will tell you the statistical data. One second. Yes. So 1 in 7 Indians, approximately 200 million, are affected by mental disorders. This has costed around 1.03 trillion of Indian economy. 74% of Indians suffer from stress. 88% experience some form of anxiety. 5.1% have common mental health disorders like depression and anxiety. 21.1 per 1 lakh population commit suicide annually. That is 1,70,000 deaths annually. And the World Health Organization says that on a daily basis, 2,443 persons out of 1 lakh population, they commit suicide. Now, when I say this, there's a lot of treatment gap. What is this treatment gap? India has 0.75 psychiatrists per 1 lakh people, which is minimal. India really needs a lot more psychiatrists per 1 lakh people. Who has recommended? I mean, the World Health Organization has recommended that 3% should be the least minimum psychiatrist available per 1 lakh population. And out of the amount of doctors that we have, the psychiatrists that we have, 70% serve the urban population. Think about the kind of condition that we are having in the rural population. So most persons with mental illness never receive treatment. In fact, law students, I'll tell you, very recently a case came up to me that a couple was residing together. Now, please listen to this case, very important. A couple was residing together. The first wife left the husband, and the husband went into depression, which is natural. Another woman comes into his life as a caretaker. He falls in love with that particular woman who is a caretaker, and the caretaker takes away all the gold jewelries and runs away, and later files a false case of rape against him. Now, this man serves jail for 3 months because of the false rape case, and comes out of the jail and tries to attempt suicide. His mental condition deteriorated so badly that he went into alcoholism. So when I called the psychologist that this particular person needs a psychological therapy, there's a waiting period of 2 months. Now, what will this particular person do for the 2 months? Forget about the charges that the psychologist takes. Can we not have smaller units locally? Can we not uh, ask people to have more, I mean, the society to have more psychiatrists or psychologists? These are the real life experiences, real life challenges that we have. Because not everybody can actually fight it out. And let me tell you one advice that I would like to give you all young people over here. It is okay not to be okay sometimes. If you are facing some kind of crisis, personal crisis, let me tell you, it is better that you share it with someone than to suffer within. Right? With these words, I thank the organizing committee for giving me an opportunity to talk and make people aware of this particular condition that is there prevalent. I hope I would have been there physically, but thank you so much. And I hope that this session was of some use to everybody, that you could have learned some things, because this is real. This is actually real. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. It's okay not to be okay all the time. आप सभी ने इस वाक्य का अर्थ अभी इतने मार्मिक ढंग से और बड़े विस्तृत गहन अध्ययन, जो कि उस ट्रॉमा से बाहर निकले हुए व्यक्ति और उस महानुभाव के वचनों को सुना, उसको महसूस किया होगा। निश्चित रूप से यह सत्र हमारे लिए बड़ा ही प्रेरणादायक रहा है। मैं पुनः आमंत्रित करूंगा उत्कृष्टि मैडम को आगे के सत्र के लिए। हमारा अगला सत्र है क्राइसिस इन टुडेज वर्ल्ड, हाउ क्राइसिस अफेक्ट्स मेंटल हेल्थ। उत्कृष्टि मैडम। थैंक यू सर। पल्लव दास सर, आपके वैल्यूएबल गाइडेंस के लिए थैंक्स अ लॉट।
थैंक यू।
थैंक यू। मैं पुनः आमंत्रित करूंगा उत्कृष्टि मैडम को मंच पे।